going in New York for a little while, you know, and the receptions one would get in different parts of the world vary greatly. So what was it that made you want to come over here?
You know, for me, and I've just shown my 10th season, so I've been doing this for 5 years. When I first showed my collection, I was actually living in Los Angeles, so it made sense. Though my studio was in London, it made sense for me to show in New York. And plus, at the time, not all of the buyers, if you like, actually went to London Fashion Week. It was very different then to how it is now. You know, everybody comes to New York, everybody goes to Paris, and everybody goes to Milan, but not everybody did go to London. So it just made sense. A mixture of that and me actually living in LA made sense, and I'm really glad that I did it that way. You know, I have a great little slot on a Sunday morning where I do my show.
Everyone's fresh in the morning.
Everybody's fresh in the morning. You know, when I first started 5 years ago, I wasn't doing a big show, the show that I'm doing now. I used to do little presentations.
That was very smart, because that, I think, I'm sure it was just because you wanted to do it that way, but it also betrayed a huge lack of ego. You know, I imagine with the attention that was focused on you, it would have been very easy to have a big splashy show and get everyone there at once. But you didn't. You went for a very understated approach.
I showed in a room at the Waldorf Hotel here in New York, where I spent about 5 days doing sometimes one-on-one presentations. Sometimes there were 10, 15 people in a room. Sometimes there was just one. And I had a couple of models. And there were 10 dresses in the first collection. And the girls would walk out in the dresses. And it all happened quite naturally. I would just start talking about the dresses just because I like to talk a lot. And I talked to journalists and also fashion buyers. And I did probably about 10 of those every day for about 5 days. And then as the collections grew and as time went on, the presentations got bigger and bigger and the venues got better and better. And now it's a full-blown show.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm interested in the way that you're described in your own company literature as businesswoman first, even before designer. About a year ago, Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook published a book about leaning in.
I know, I've read it. I'm a big fan of hers.
Yeah, and you managed to do this. I mean, you manage your family, being a wife, and running this enormous business. What is it, do you think, that enables you to do that where other people struggle?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I work hard. I do consider that I have a good work ethic, and I work hard. I focus. I'm not a prima donna. You know, I know that other celebrities, if you like, have launched clothing lines. And they've done it in a very different way to how I've done it. It was never about me, the celebrity. It was about the product. The product spoke for itself. Yes, people came into my presentations and they had preconceptions, and that was fine, and I didn't go into this to prove anybody wrong. I wanted to prove to myself, but that was it, not to prove to anybody else. And the bottom line is that the product really did speak for itself. It was good product, the quality was good, and people wanted to buy it. And that was the first piece of advice that Marc Jacobs ever gave me. He said, if you design a collection and it's really good, then people can say they don't like it, but no one can say it's rubbish. And that was really good advice.
And we were talking earlier about how focused you were on one particular type of product when you started. So it feels like you've grown organically. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I started out for the first 4 collections, I think it was, just designing dresses and creating a signature, which would be a straight dress with a zip down the back. Obviously a lot of design details, but in quite a minimal way. And that very quickly became my signature. And I always wanted to do more. I wanted to do separates and shoes and handbags. I wanted to do lots of things. But I was really focused and I did it at a steady pace. And I think that was very important.
And what about other areas of design? I mean, what have you got your eyes on? Menswear, perhaps?
I'd love to do menswear at some point, absolutely. And I get very inspired by menswear. Not the season I've just shown, but the season before was very inspired by men's tailoring. And there was a boy meets girl fashion message throughout the whole collection. So I find it very, very inspiring.
I'm sure some people in the room could come up with a muse for you. who's not too far from home.
Yes, absolutely. He's a bit busy modelling underwear at the moment. But,
we haven't noticed.
Yeah, I'm not so sure my pictures would be quite so interesting if he's fully clothed. But.
So on the subject of that, how important is it to have your family around you while you're working? Because I know they're here in New York with you while you're showing.
Yeah, this is the first season that the boys have actually been to the show, because Harper always comes with me because she's not at school like the boys. But I decided I wanted them to come this season because I wanted them to see what Mummy does. Because they sit and they watch Daddy play football, and it's very public what David does. And I wanted them to come and see that Mummy works as well. And I think that's a very positive message to put out to people, that yes, I'm a wife and I'm a mother, but I work as well. And that doesn't come without its challenges. It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. And that's why people like Sheryl Sandberg inspire me so much. It's a juggling act, and David was here as well, and he took care of the boys, and he took them out and just let me get on with my work, which was great, because you do have to be very focused when you're here showing a collection. It's a lot of late nights, early mornings, a lot of big decisions, a lot of responsibilities, and I'm lucky that I have a husband that supports me and gives me the freedom and the space to do what I need to do. But it's about being focused, having the right team of people around you, and just structuring your schedule in the right way.
You do bring to mind something. I'm interested in a day in the life of Victoria Beckham. And the reason I mention that is because a few years ago there was someone from the entertainment industry that was a designer, and they had their picture taken pinning on a mannequin, and it certainly wasn't you. And it was sort of mocked quite widely because it was so clear that that person had been wheeled in for the shot, but which was a little bit tragic.
Right.
But clearly that's not you. I mean, you've built this. So what's a typical day at your level of the market when you're working on the brand?
Do you mean when I'm working professionally? Yeah. I mean, it depends. If I'm in a development week, which is 1.5 weeks every month, where I am literally focusing on design with all 5 categories. So I have ready to wear. I have the Victoria line, which is a slightly less expensive collection of dresses. I have denim, I have eyewear, which is sunglasses and also optical, and I have handbags as well. So I take all 5 categories, and whether I'm working on a pre-collection or a main collection, I spend a week and a half solely focusing on that. And then for the rest of the time, I'm in the studio every day. Might be having an ecom meeting, or a meeting about lookbooks, or approving lookbook images, or whatever it might be. There's a lot that goes into what I do. It's not just designing. It might be a styling meeting. I might be meeting with the production team with regards to the show and talking about music, or laying wood samples out and picking the right wood samples, and picking the colour of the wall that I'm going to have for the show, or there's a hell of a lot that goes into it, and I think that's what really surprises people when they step into what I and my team do, is quite how much goes into a production or a collection, if you like, or something like that.
Well, we were talking earlier about a line plan, and how one can imagine there are certain designers in Europe that would consider worrying about the business side of it to be outrageous. It's nothing to do with them. I mean, one of the big groups actually prides itself on keeping design and commerce very separate. But I think it's more of an American or perhaps international approach to actually be aware of the business side of it. Tell us a little bit about how you deal with that.
I think so. I mean, that's definitely very important to me and my team. And yes, it's great to be creative, and we are very creative, but you do have to have a line plan. So when I sit down to design handbag collection, I know what price points I have to hit and what bags I need, and I have the right people around me to help me do that. And there's a lot of creative people that aren't involved with that side of the business. I like to be, because I like to be aware, but I think it's very, very important, because if not, how do you sustain a business if you're not doing that?
Yeah. We mentioned also the Birkin bag and what a design classic that is, and how important it is to be inspired by design classics. And I think people are sometimes afraid of looking at quality design from somewhere else. So you're a big fan of the Birkin.
I think that everybody's inspired by Hermes, for sure. I mean, I think that you can be inspired by somebody, but you can still do your own thing. I'm not trying to create something like a Birkin bag, but I can look at the quality and the design detail, absolutely, and get inspired by that, for sure.
What do you do when you dry up of inspiration?
What do? I mean, you know, I can get inspired from so many things, different people, different places. Maybe sometimes art. You know, we were talking earlier, and I said my last pre-collection, the colour palette was inspired from Julian Schnabel painting, who's my favourite artist. So I think that you can draw inspiration from anywhere. You know, it's great to go to vintage shops and look at archives as well and get inspired.
Yeah, I think it's an important lesson that there's inspiration everywhere. And if you can't see it, it's your fault for not seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody sometimes feels that they've run out of ideas, you know. But I think it's good to challenge yourself. I also like to look at things that I find challenging and things that I wouldn't wear myself, and I like to look at those pieces and get inspired by that.
What was your inspiration for this current collection? How are you feeling about it now? Are you sick of it now?
No, you know, I'm really proud of the show that we showed yesterday. It has definitely evolved. It feels very new, but it also feels very me. A lot more fluidity this season. A very long, lean silhouette. Lots of new techniques that we have developed in our studio in London. So I feel very, very proud. The response has been quite mind-blowing, which is always a good thing.
So you mentioned your atelier a couple of times. Tell us a little bit about how you find your staff and the kind of skills you have in-house.
Yeah.
Because here in New York, many of our designers send everything to a factory elsewhere to get it made and then sort of get it the day before the show. And then others have their ateliers in-house, but it seems to be a dying breed. It's very encouraging that you have that.
It's very difficult to find good pattern cutters and seamstresses, but I'm very lucky. I have some great people in London, and I've recently employed a few new people that have come over from Paris, which is very exciting. I want to develop in-house. That's what I want to do. Of course, I have to send samples out to factories so I can make the dresses to sell, but I love to develop in-house. And that's a rolling development, something that we don't just do when it's showtime. It's something that we do all season.
I think you're right. It's important to have a passion for artisanship. I mean, you've got to actually want to touch the fabric and drape, etc. And I guess you must work with some real experts.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that works with me, and I have to say, there's a whole row of people here that work with me. It's quite daunting seeing you all sitting here like this. You know, everybody works really hard, and everybody is very passionate about what they do, and everybody gives 100%, and I'm very lucky to have them all.
So what does it take, apart from giving 100%, what does it take to come and work for Victoria Beckham? Because you know everybody wants to.
I mean, obviously, talent, work ethic, passion. I want people that are good at what they do, and people that are good. I think working as a team is also very important. I'm not doing this on my own. I can't mention and thank my team enough. It is about being in a team, and you have to be the kind of person that can work with other people.
Tell me about some of the things that you might advise our students to do.
I can't tell you enough to just go out and work for other people and just learn. Learn, because I learned so much from working with the other companies that I did, and that's priceless. Yeah,
I mean, we do. We have obviously our students all intern, but there's never a moment when they can't be doing something that's going to educate them.
Yeah, absolutely, and just work really, really hard. That's the other thing. You've got to be prepared to put in the work. We
had Terry Lundgren, who's the head of Macy's, speaking a little while ago, and he mentioned the phrase "bloom where you're planted,"
right?
Which sounds very old school, but actually it's very smart. It means if you're going to make coffee, make it really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think exactly the same.
The theatre's brand new. Forgive our teething trouble.
This is lovely, isn't it?
It's nice, isn't it?
It's really beautiful.
Posh.
Yeah, it's very posh.
I
thought we weren't meant to have fun. I was going to say I was going to sing then.
Right.
Almost.
So I actually don't study fashion. I study interior design, and I wonder how you consider space and, as a context for your clothes. And also, do you think you'll ever collaborate with interior designers in the future?
I mean, I love interior design. Actually, Kelly Hoppen, I don't know if you know her, is a very good friend of mine. And I enjoy it. You know, I've been very fortunate. When I moved to Los Angeles, I worked very closely with Kelly. She helped me do the interior design for my house. And it's not a million miles away from what we do in fashion about collecting